One of the most important things in video is audio. It could be the most important aspect of any video you see, whether it's on Twitch, whether it's a movie, or whether it's a video game. Audio is that important. Bad audio can distract from your content. Bad audio can create a bad viewing experience for your viewers. Bad audio can make someone not want to watch your videos. The problem is getting good audio can be expensive, and many of us don't have the expertise nor the money to go out and invest in what it would take to get like the best audio you possibly could. But the great thing is, no matter whether you're using a headset microphone or a USB microphone like this blue Snowball, or an XLR mic like what I'm using now that connects to a mixer then into the PC, regardless of the mic you use, you can still have good audio. It's not going to be studio quality, but that's not what we need. We need audio that doesn't distract from our content. We need audio that doesn't make a bad viewing experience for our users and our viewers. So how do we do it? Well, that's what I'm going to jump into here in just a minute. If you're not familiar with me, I'm Samurai Jack. That's Samurai JACQ. You can find me over on Twitch. I'm a variety streamer playing mostly first-person shooters, but I jump into random games that I haven't played on a regular basis. Check me out over on Twitch if you get a chance, and hopefully I'll be able to bring some more content like this to you. Let's jump right in. So the first mic we are going to focus on is going to be your headset mic. Now, most people have a headset mic, whether it's one like this one where it's just built into the earpiece, or it's one that has like a boom that comes out. This could even go over to maybe earbuds with the microphone. It's going to be, you're not going to have like amazing quality out of most of these. Like you might, but typically you won't. And so I do want to say like the quality of your microphone does matter if you want to get like the highest quality audio you can. But the goal here, like I said before, is to get a quality that doesn't impact your viewers. And so we're gonna jump right in here. So let me switch over and you're gonna hear an immediate difference in the audio quality once I do this switch.
Okay, so you can probably hear there's nothing on this. And it's actually a little hotter than the other mic too, as you can see by it's coming up into this red sometimes, depending on what I say and how loud I say it. So I think we'll actually want to do a limiter on this as well. So let's go ahead and if you click this little cog, you get this drop down. And so we're going to select filters. Now you can see there are none applied, but I'm going to go ahead and add a limiter. Now for this one, I'm not going to do a big limit. It's set at 6 right here. I think that's good. Maybe 10. I'll go negative 10. And so what's happening now is it's actually pulling down the max audio that can be there. And that's just so we can limit it a little bit. Now, the next thing I said was noise suppression. We just leave the name the same. Now for noise suppression, for this one, there's not a lot of background noise coming off this mic. So I'm just gonna take this up to about negative 10. And so the idea here is that it's going to cut out maybe if some fans kick on or something like that. And so we don't want that noise to muddy up our audio. Now noise suppression really is going to change based on your mic. And when we do the USB mic here in a minute, you'll see that. The next one we're going to do is a compressor. Now there is a compressor in OBS built in, but there's also a VST plugin you can use. And I'm going to use that compressor, and I will change the name. Now the VST plugin, I'll put a link in the description, but basically it gives you a little bit better control over some of the filters. And so you want REA comp, wherever that is. Is that it? Yeah, this one, sorry. And click open plugin interface. Now you see nothing popped up. It comes down to the taskbar here. I find it annoying, but it is what it is. And so for the compressor, it's going to be pretty simple. This needs to be dragged down to kind of the top of where this peaks. Now what a compressor does is it limits the dynamic range of your audio. Now, when we think dynamic range, we usually think video or photography, and high dynamic range is good. But in audio, because there's so much noise, whether that's background noise or other things, you do want to limit your dynamic range to get a more clear sound. And so I'll drop this probably like -12, -15-ish, around there. And that's for this mic. Now, this is going to be different based on the mic, based on your environment, and things like that. Now, I am going to change this to a 400 millisecond release, and maybe mess with the ratio. Maybe go like to 1.5. Now, I think 1's going to work with this. Now, this varies based on your mic as well. I'm going to put that 0 back just in case. Okay, we'll leave the attack the same. So the attack is how quickly it's going to kick on the compressor, and the release is how quickly it's going to back off. Now, the reason I increase the release is because I don't want it to cut off the tail end of what I'm speaking. So I'm going to click Close the Plugin Interface, and now I'm going to add a noise gate. Now, again, this is another one in the VST plugin, and I'm just going to call it Noise Gate. And REA Gate is the one you look for right here. I'm actually going to move this up above the noise suppression. So what a noise gate does is it will not allow any audio below a certain decibel. So if you have a low hum that's not very loud, this will take care of that. If you have mouse clicks that you can hear, it'll help take those out. Things of that nature. And so what you do is you just shut up. I'll just shut up, and you'll see this bar right here. It'll drop down, and I'll put this right above that. And it's actually pretty quiet in this room because my air conditioner kicked off a few minutes ago. And so I'm going to put it a little higher than I would have otherwise. Now, again, each mic is going to be different here. And so that's all I'm going to do on this one. And then next we're going to add the last one, and probably the most important one is the EQ. So the EQ is where the power is in changing the actual sound as opposed to like just making it sound better. And this one's really optional. If you think your voice sounds good with how your mic is and you're just trying to get rid of noise, the noise gate, suppressor, and compressor are going to do that for you. But I like to use the EQ. You can pull out different parts of your vocals based on personal preference or how your voice works, how it sounds. I personally have a lot of bass in my voice, and I like to bring that extra body out. But I also want, a little bit of clarity here. And so I'm just going to leave this on 4 bands. You can add as many as you like, so you can customize this quite a bit. I'm going to put this on some settings that I like, that I've used before, but you can really play with this until you get a sound you like. And so for the first one, I typically do a high pass. And so what that's going to do is cut off everything that is a higher frequency than where we're at. And I'm going to set this, it can stay at 100, right? But I am going to boost it, right? So I'm going to boost this by by 20. Now that's a big boost, okay? But we'll come back to that in a minute. And so I'm going to skip all the way over to 4, because 4 we're going to do the same thing, but the inverse. So I'm going to do a low pass here, and I'm going to pull it out to about 12K. And so what this is just the upper levels of frequency. And I'm going to do the same thing on the gain. Do about a 20 there. Now on 2, I'm going to do low shelf, and 3 is going to be high shelf. For each of these, so this one can stay about 300. I usually put it around 4, which is fine. And then this one I put up around 3,000, 3,500, which is really kind of the sweet spot for voices. And so I'm really going to boost this one by about 8 or 9. And then I'm going to cut the bandwidth down to about 1.5. And so on 2, I'm actually going to do a 10 boost and cut that down. Now, I think I actually have these backwards. Yes, I do. So low shelf is the first. Oh, I just messed it up. Yeah, so low shelf is the first one. High shelf is the second one there. So 2 and 3. And you can hear there's an audible difference now in what it sounded like. And I actually want this to go up a little higher here. So I'm going to bump this to like an 11. And move this bandwidth down to about a 1. And so again, you can tweak this for the sound that you want. And you can play with it. You can spend a lot of time playing with this. And so I'm going to leave this as it is. I'm going to close the interface. And, oh, it switched back. Or it did. I didn't save my last change. So I'm going to move this back to low shelf. That sounds a lot better. Bump this back to 11. And then down to 1. Okay, now your numbers don't have to be exact. I'm just going to click through real quick so it actually saves. It does do this sometimes with this plugin. It's frustrating, but you can get more power out of this. So I'm going to close, and hopefully it stayed the same that time. That's good. All right, now you can see now though I am peaking because I did boost the audio there. And so I'm going to come back over to the limiter, and I'm going to go down to a -15. And I think that's a good spot. Maybe go a little bit lower, maybe -20. And so now I can get pretty loud, and it's not going to blow out eardrums. And this is important, especially like if you get surprised in a game or something like that happens. And so I'm going to pause for a second so you can hear a before and after. Here, there's nothing on this. And so this is the after. And so you can hear there's a pretty substantial difference.
Okay, so now I'm gonna switch to the blue snowball microphone. Let me grab that, pull this over in front of me, because this is, now this is, like I said before, I think it was like $70 or 7,000 yen is what I purchased it for, something around that. You can probably find them used for cheaper, but it's not like this super high-end mic, but it is a USB mic. In my opinion, a little higher quality than what you're gonna find on most headsets. I got it for a podcast I was doing, a year or two ago. And so I've had this a while. I have since upgraded, but let's jump in, and you'll notice a few things about the audio and how it differs even from the headset and from this mic. So let's switch over to this now. Okay, so first off, it sounds a lot different. It's quiet. It is pretty quiet, number one. But also it picks up a lot of the ambient noise. If my AC comes back on, you'll definitely hear it. And you can actually hear a low hum, or you can see it in the mixer. If I'll shut up for a second, and if you watch the mixer here, you'll see it still moving even when I'm not speaking. Now there's not a ton there, but so it's important though, because as we can see right now, I'm not getting up into this yellow area where we want to be. We really want to be in this yellow area with our vocals. And so the problem is that when I actually boost this, I'm going to add a gain filter on this. It's going to be much more noticeable. So I'm going to make this a little easier on myself. I'm going to copy these 5 filters and paste them here. And then I'm going to open that up. Now, I still have a limiter here, but watch what happens when I come up and I add a gain, because we need a gain, because there's just not, I'm gonna move this mic real quick, because there's just not enough, coming out of this mic. So I'm gonna do the gain first and watch what happens here. If I do a 10 decibel gain, I'm still not, I'm barely reaching this yellow. So I'm gonna do about a 12, 13, maybe 15, 16. Yeah, I think 16 is good. Okay, 16.5 is where I'm putting this. But you'll notice, well, my AC just turned on. But you can definitely see there's a lot more ambient noise. And so this is where the noise gate comes in. So I'm going to open this interface, and we'll be able to see, these reset between even when you copy. I copied to make it easy to open them back up. But watch this. See how much higher that is when I'm not speaking? if you remember, the other one was almost all the way at the bottom. And so I'm gonna move this up. And so you'll notice once I close this out, there is no more it making any noise or catching any noise in the mixer. And so that's why it's a big deal to make sure you apply these for the mic you're using. So noise suppression is going to be about the same. You don't really have to do a whole lot there. The compressor, I can't remember if this one reset. This one did not reset. And what I do need to do is lower this a little bit more. Okay, and just different mic, different settings, and that's just how this works. And the last one is EQ. So fortunately, the EQ actually saved over. And so you probably heard a big difference once I copied these filters. But again, you can adjust these based on the mic and what you're seeing or hearing. So I have the monitor on, so I'm hearing myself speak as I speak, which is kind of distracting, to be honest, but it's good for this type of thing. You can also just record, and if you do a recording and listen back, you can really hear the difference. Okay, so the purpose for this is just to show you do have to tweak settings and add some things individually based on the microphone that you're using. We're going to work on this mic here. Now this is an XLR mic plugged into a mixer. You know, this isn't a super high-end mic. It's just something that I wanted to be able to plug into a mixer and really get some use out of. So I'm gonna switch over to this. You see I've got a mixer audio source, and let me change to that. Now you'll immediately hear a difference. The mic is much louder as well. And so I need to do a few things. And so let me copy the filters from the first one. Mostly because there's a gain filter on the snowball, and I don't want that one to be added here. It's already hot enough. So I pasted those filters in, and you should hear an immediate difference because the EQ copied over. Now, there's also some other things. There's noise suppression, there's the compressor, and there's the noise gate. But you can still see some of this extra noise. Now, it's not that noticeable. And it's not really that big of a deal. It's more of an artifact from coming through the mixer. But we can mess with it for a minute and see if we can fix it. Now, the limiter I think is fine, right? We're not going up into this red area anymore. We're good on the limiter. Well, what we can look at is maybe this noise gate, right? Maybe the noise gate needs to be a little better. And you see the noise gate's all the way down. So I do need to bump that back up. We did notice that. I should have realized that the noise gate wasn't going to be in place. Oh, my AC is kicking in. All right, so I'm going to bump that to about negative 25.9, negative 26, around that area. Now remember, these numbers will differ based on you, your room, the ambient sounds, and things of that nature. So don't use the exact settings I'm using, but tweak it for your room, your interfacing, like what you're working with. So let's go to noise suppression. I can't speak. Noise suppression. Now, I'm going to try to bump this up maybe to around negative 25 and see if we can get some without impacting the actual audio itself. So if I bump that down to negative 25, made it a little better. If I go negative 30, it's quite a bit. Let's see if we can mess with the compressor a little bit and see if this does anything. Now, the compressor here, I can probably bump this ratio up with this mic. Not a whole lot though, it's compressing too much. 1.1, we just need to just keep it at 1. I was expecting to be able to do a little more with this, but you know, like I said, it varies from mic to mic and setting to setting. And so that's kind of where we are. Now, if we look at the EQ, it's possible that if I bump this EQ a little bit more left, you see it stopped getting that mixer, right? And so, but the audio doesn't sound as good. So some of these things you're gonna have to play with and just see what kind of happens, because it definitely sounds better, in my opinion, like this, right? I like the sound of this. I like the body in this voice. And so I'll leave this as is. Now, again, a lot of this is going to be trial and error, but these few filters should really take your audio up to the next level. So we're gonna cut over to Adobe Audition. So let me switch the mic back. So this mic, again, is actually being fed through Adobe Audition using a virtual audio cable, and I'm gonna cover that next. Okay, so we are now in Adobe Audition. You can see I have 5 different filters set up: noise, processing, compressor, an equalizer, and a limiter. So it's very similar to what I was doing in OBS. And one other thing that I'm doing here is I'm actually knocking down the audio volume a little bit, so it's not so hot going into OBS. And so let me turn off the effects so you can see what it sounds like. So this is basically the same as what it was when we were just in OBS with this mixer. I haven't changed any of the settings on the mixer. The only thing I'm doing here is this 11.7 decibel cut, so it isn't too loud. And so you can see there's a huge difference, more so even than what we had in OBS. So I'm gonna turn these off and go through them, turn them on one by one. Now, starting with denoise. Now, denoise is just gonna take out background noise. That's all it's doing. For me, I just do kind of a flat focus, no real, like, just, it's all frequencies. I just wanna cut down background noise. But if you have a lot more background noise at certain frequencies, you can adjust this to focus on the low side, the high side, the middle, or even high and low, but not middle. I'm doing a 40%. You'll want to adjust this based on your environment. So the next one is dynamics processing. Now, dynamics processing is interesting. The further you move this line to the right, and the harsher the angle is going up, the more harsh the mic turn on is going to be. And so this is similar to like the noise gate. And so I have this gradually going up. So it's not a harsh gate, but it's more of a soft gate while still cutting out some of those quieter noises. Now the next one is a compressor. Now the multi-band compressor is better than the OBS compressor for one reason. You get multiple bands for the setting. So instead of a global setting on all of the bands or all of the frequencies, you get multiple frequencies. What did I just say? Frequencies. Okay, so for me, I have the threshold set differently for each because I want the focus to be on different parts. Now for you, your voice is different than mine. So you're gonna wanna do things a little bit differently. I do wanna call out that the one thing that may be glaringly obvious here is I haven't modified the release. The release by default in OBS is also 100, but I move it to 400. I think Audition does a better job on the release, and so 100 milliseconds is fine here, in my opinion. If you think that it sounds too choppy at the end, or your voice gets cut off, or something like that at the end of statements, you'll definitely want to bump that up. The next one is the EQ. Remember, EQ has a huge effect on your audio quality, or basically what your voice sounds like. It's not so much quality, but what your voice sounds like. And so I'll turn this on, and you instantly can hear a huge difference. And so let me open this up, and you can see this is very similar to what I was doing in OBS. Now there's a lot of different things. There's presets you can pick from, like depending on what you're doing or what your voice is like, you'll want to tweak this to match your voice or what you're doing. If you're playing music or something like that, you'll obviously want to tweak this as well. And then the last thing is the limiter. Now I don't need to go into too much details on the limiter. I'm doing a very small, I say small limit. I'm only setting it to a -2 decibel peak. That means that the loudest I can get is -2 decibels, which means it's not going to peak and blow somebody's ears out. And then this look ahead time is important because it basically just looks ahead to know that it should quiet the audio down. So you don't want to be too far ahead. I think 7 milliseconds is the default. Don't quote me on that. Okay, one thing that I forgot to mention that is very important is you have to have a virtual audio cable to work with Audition. what a virtual audio cable does is it allows you to output your audio to a virtual input. So it's like plugging in a virtual cable to your PC. Without that, you won't be able to output Audition. So it will go into OBS or Streamlabs. And so I use VB Audio virtual cable. I'll put a link in the description. It's free, it's not hard to set up. But basically you need to set this output here to be the VB Audio virtual cable. Two of the things that are important on this is you need to have R, that's the record setting. So it'll know to record to this track. And then the I actually tells it to go to the output that you have selected. And so you have to do those two things. I forgot to mention that earlier. So do not forget that. And yeah, just don't forget it. It's important. Well, with that, we can wrap things up. I hope this was helpful to you. If it was, be sure to leave a like, comment, let me know. If there was something you think that I missed or something that you think I should cover more in depth, please let me know as well. When it comes to Audition, if you want to use that and you need a better guide on this, obviously I was very high level. Please let me know. I can do a full video just on setting Audition up with audio and some of the pros and cons of the different settings that are there. For instance, there's a better denoise function in Audition, but it's really processor heavy, and so it causes a delay. And so how you can work with that and still use that. So if you are interested in that, please let me know. And again, I'm sure most of you aren't familiar with me, but I am a streamer over on Twitch, twitch.tv/SamuraiJack, JACQ. A lot of people mess that up when I tell them that because, you know, I'm weird and have to use a Q in my name. But I appreciate you watching. And like I said, let me know if you like this, if it was useful. And I hope to bring some more content to the community to help streamers or content creators out. You have a great day.